Good morning, guys, and good morning, Columbus. My name's Curtis. I'm with Goodwill Columbus, coming to you live from my inner sanctum or my humble abode. It's my work from home day. So, but that doesn't stop me from trying to help educate you on items that, lost my train of thought. So, anyways, yeah, so just because I'm working from home doesn't mean the training stops. We're still trying to reach out to you. You guys are in your homes, I'm in my home. So let's just have a home party and let's talk about today's topic. Today we're talking about volunteering and very specifically volunteering in the community and what that means. What does it mean to be a volunteer? How does a volunteer help the community? And who can be a volunteer? And what can you gain from the experience? So these are all valuable questions that we can answer. And if you have any input, please feel free to comment as we go along. So, what does it mean to volunteer? Well, a volunteer is somebody who donates their time and they use their time and provide services for individuals or organizations to do a job or help whatever that they may need help for. Goodwill Columbus, we have a lot of different businesses around Central Ohio that bring volunteers, big groups of volunteers into our adult day programming and spend time with our individuals, do activities with our individuals. But there's other activities. A lot of our day programs, they are involved with things like food pantries and soup kitchens and Meals on Wheels is one that we added last year. So we're all very active in trying to do what we can to volunteer, to give back to the community, because the community is very gracious at giving to us. So, and let's see, being a volunteer, you are helping somebody in need. You could be cleaning, you could be helping them move. It could just be as simple as visiting somebody to provide friendship. And doesn't cost anything to volunteer. No, volunteer. The only thing it costs is your time and energy. Doesn't cost you a dime to go help pass out food at a food bank, or even just to stock the shelves at a food pantry. Doesn't cost a penny. It should never cost a penny to volunteer. If it does, it's not volunteer work, and somebody could be taking advantage of you. So you need to watch that. So, what are some volunteer work that you guys have done in your community? So, chime in and tell me, what kind of volunteer work have you guys done in your community? I can say that I have worked at a food pantry. My church has a food pantry, and for many years I volunteered there. And it was mixed bag between helping unload trucks of food that we got from the Mid Ohio Food Bank, stocking the shelves. To more recently, helping people shop. We are at a choice pantry, which that means the people who come in who need food can go through and shop like they're shopping at a grocery store. There's, you know, based on their family size and amount of food that they can select or pick, and you kind of walk them through kind of like aisles and let them pick. It kind of helps with their dignity and makes it feel like they still have some sort of control over what they're getting, and they're not just getting a mixed bag of stuff that they might not eat half of. And it really helps make the food that's donated last a lot longer. Let's see. In the past, I've also helped sign people up for energy assistance through AEP's Neighbor to Neighbor program. That was a very rewarding experience. And many years ago, and something I would like to get back into, I would love to work for Habitat for Humanity again. I would love to volunteer some time for that, and that's a program that I would like to get some of our individuals, some of you guys at home, involved in and going out. And that's part of our WCS programming is we've got a new construction skills lab, or AKA the wood shop, to teach basic skills with tools. And that's going to lead into some community volunteering with Habitat for Humanity to help build houses for people in need. And that was a very fun experience for me. Of course, I made mistakes because I didn't know much at that time, and but that's part of the process, And I learned some valuable things too, and it's very rewarding to do that. Let's see, what else did I volunteer for? But we have volunteers that have come in to work in community services. Let's see, last summer we had a carnival. We had a huge group of volunteers come in to help us, and they ran some of the carnival games that we had created. They walked around with groups of individuals and just spent time connecting. We've had some come out to help us with our gardening in the backyard because, me, I don't have a green thumb, so that's very helpful. Let's see, what else? I know that there's been some activities at Edge Hill in which volunteers have come in to help with. And I know you guys at home really love having those kind of community connections. And that's very important with our volunteers. I know we've had musicians come in, we've had other people come in and do things. So it's just a great sense of connection with our community, with everybody else here in Central Ohio. And it's not something that has to be limited to our day programming. You guys, you don't have to feel like you're coming to our building and you don't have to go anywhere or you don't need to go anywhere. If you want to go somewhere and if there's a volunteer opportunity you want to look into, then let's do that. I know there are a few individuals who are interested in cleaning up some of our local parks, and we've put together some curriculum for that. So when you guys come back, and we'll be able to go out and help our metro parks out. It's a big job for a lot of them. They're a small agency, and there's a lot of parks, and some of them they need cleaned up every once in a while, and that's something that's a very rewarding experience. And it gets you outside too, especially this week. It's been hot, but it's been nice. The sun's been out. Oh, it's been so gorgeous. So, what kind of volunteers have helped you with something? There's the next question. Anybody have a story on when volunteers have helped you? I know my first experience with a volunteer happened shortly after the birth of my youngest. My wife and I were kind of overwhelmed. You're going from one kid to two kids and a new baby, and it can be a little overwhelming. Plus, you miss out on some work if you don't have enough. Maternity leave is always a big thing. So you do what you can to scrimp and save and survive. And we were heading into the holiday season. It was coming up on Christmas. So, cash is already strapped. And the director of the food pantry at my church brought over several boxes of food for my family. And that helped us get through the next few weeks. And it was just an amazing thing to happen. And it really touched on my heart. I had been laid off from my job. So money was already tight. Like I said, we had a new baby in the house. And, you're wondering, what are you going to do for Christmas? We got, the director of the food pantry, she signed us up for this children's gift ministry, which is a volunteer program run out of another facility. And we were able to give gifts to our kids that winter or that Christmas. And I think that's kind of what inspired me, and it really changed my life. And I started to volunteer from that point forward. And it's these types of connections that are important because, yeah, I knew my church had a food pantry. We'd been going there for a few years, but I had never volunteered there. And I really didn't pay much attention to even the clients that went there. So after this experience, her name was Patty, Patty and Gary, um, wonderful couple. After that, I swore to myself I would start volunteering, and I did. I had my 1 day a week that I would go there and do my service. And at the time, we weren't a choice pantry. We were just given assortment of food to individuals based on their family size. So unloading trucks and stocking shelves, and then go there on my assigned day and load up materials. I started meeting the people in the community around my church. And, everybody has a image in their mind or a stereotype of what they think someone that comes to a food pantry would look like or act like. And the majority of them don't fit that stereotype at all. And it's a very moving experience to get to know these people. There's one guy, his name was Jerry. Um, he was a veteran, older gentleman, and had worked himself back from homelessness. And he was a customer. We'd see him once a month. You can only go to a food pantry once a month. And after a couple years, he started, volunteering his time and coming in. And now he's a pretty important person to the pantry, um, in providing his service. So that is my experience, my first experience basically with someone volunteering something for me. It changes you. Let's see. So, how does a volunteer help the community? So, many community programs are nonprofits and cannot afford paying wages to hire workers. So, like Mid Ohio Food Bank. Yeah, you can. Sorry. Um, most nonprofits do have their small group of people. Take like Big Brothers Big Sisters, for example. They're nonprofits, and they have their core office staff and their social workers and their administrators that help make the connections between the Big Brothers and Big Sisters with the littles, as they are called. Um, but the bigs, those are all volunteers. My wife was a part of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and she, donated a lot of her time and really developed this relationship with this girl. Her name is Carrie, and she's still kind of an important part of our family many, many, many years later. We're talking that relationship has been going on for 20 years now. She's well into her adult life and has her own children. So that's something volunteers do. Um, so a nonprofit organization or a not-for-profit, you'll hear it called both, relies on donations and grants to raise money that is used to help people in communities and not used to earn a profit. And regular corporations, when they are getting money and stuff like retail, say like one of my former jobs, KB Toys, was a for-profit company because they took their profits and of course they gave it to their paid their employees, but they also got bonuses and stuff, and that's all fun, and they donate every now and then. But now, like Goodwill Columbus, we are a nonprofit. Everything that we earn through our retail is then put back into programming and services that it, for our, like our adult day services, um, it's reinvested back into the organization in ways to help communities. There's plenty of other items that Goodwill does, so it's very important for all that. Certainly. Um, Mid Ohio Food Bank, that's another nonprofit. They take the money that they raise and they use it to help purchase food and stuff to then gets either put in their own food pantry or gets sold for pennies on the dollar to other food pantries. Let's see, what else can we talk about? Yeah, and grants. We here at Goodwill, we apply for lots of grants. We've very appreciative of the opportunities we have when it's time to get grants. And we work hard because the more grants that we get, the more programming we can offer. It's been very beneficial in updating a lot of our technology and getting new equipment in, because we as an organization, can't just go out and buy all this new stuff. We got to find a funding source. So it's important. Like United Way. United Way is another not-for-profit. They do a lot of fundraising. It's, amazing organization. A lot of Goodwill employees donate to United Way directly out of their paychecks. So it's important because they help individuals and communities in their time of need. Um, let's see. So, what else do I got here? A volunteer creates a close relationship within a community and fills a need that will help people feel more connected. That is so very true. Uh, the community connections that I made through working in my church's food pantry are important. A lot of those individuals who I got to know and learn about, I still talk to some of those people today when I see them. So it's great in building community connections. Um, my, especially food pantries are in bad need of donations and money, and try to do as much fundraising as they can, food drives. You would be surprised at the amount of support and love that communities show these organizations. Yeah, you'll have your hot button issues every now and then, but the fact that working in a food pantry helped me know and understand the community that I was a part of for many years and just had never really paid attention. You're just driving from point A to point B. You're not necessarily looking out your window at the houses you're driving past or the people walking on the sidewalks. You don't get to see that kind of stuff, or you're not really paying attention. Inattentional blindness is what it's called. So you see it, but you don't really see it because you're just busy focusing on getting to where you're going. But when you're volunteering and you're serving in some way and giving back to your community, you're seeing the community from a different lens, and it's a rewarding experience. So let's see. Um, so let's see. What should you be careful of when volunteering? This is important. A lot of you guys that who you are, want to be very nice to people, and it's still an issue. I've talked to several of you numerous times, because you want to share things, you want to buy things for people, you want to give food to people. But there's some people that are not doing it honestly. You can get taken advantage of very easily in these types of situations. So you kind of got to have your guard up. You got to be smart about it. So when you're volunteering, you have to remember to never give people your own money. You know, whatever you're doing, you're volunteering. Someone's coming to a food pantry and they're there to get food. Some of them may ask you for money. Don't do it. You know, you may want to, but that's not the purpose of your volunteering. You know, and maybe just talk to them. Maybe that's what they're looking for. Um, I know that you can never be too sure what that other person's agenda is when they're asking for money. They may say they may be using it to buy something that they need, but they may just want to go out and buy a pack of cigarettes or some booze. But, and if you give them money, they're going to keep coming back and asking you for money and more money and more money. And it's just going to be a very repetitious cycle. So being taken advantage of while you're volunteering is also something you need to be aware of. Make sure that the organization that you're volunteering with isn't asking more of you than what is required for the job. You know, if you're volunteering for Habitat for Humanity and they want you to install an electrical switch and you've never done that before, tell them. You know, it's a hair-raising experience to be shocked when you're trying to wire something up, and if you are not capable of doing that, then you need to say, "Hey, I don't know how to do that." Um, can you ask them to watch? Yeah, I would watch somebody install it and see if somebody would be there to teach you. That would be great. You definitely don't want to be the only person doing everything. You know, if there's a group of you going to volunteer somewhere and one person's doing all the stocking on a shelf somewhere and the other ones are off talking on their own, that's not fair, right? I mean, how fair is that for you as an individual to agree to go volunteer and do something, but then you're just going to sit in the back and not do any work? Say you guys are going to the park to clean up and you decide, nah, I don't want to do it. Well, you've made a commitment and you need to stand by that commitment, right? It's important. So that's something you really need to consider when you're doing your volunteering opportunities. Do you really want to be involved with that opportunity? Are you willing to do the work that's required for that opportunity? So really think about that. And the number one safety goal when volunteering out in the community is to always work in groups and avoid any one-on-one scenarios. You definitely don't want a stranger asking to speak with you and leading you away from your group. That's never a good thing. You need to stick with your group of your group of volunteers that you show up with. So that way there's no chance of anything harmful happening to you. Especially if you're out in a public park where there's a lot of places that you could be led to, and I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody, period. Um, and I don't want anything bad to happen to me either. So if someone is in need and say, hey, I lost my dog, well, that's Stranger 101 right there. No, you're not going to go walk away and go help this person find a dog. If you want to still help them, bring a group of friends with you, but don't go by yourself. All right. So, who can be a volunteer? Who can be a volunteer? Well, anyone willing to do something nice for another person or group. Anyone can be a volunteer. So that's very important to remember. But anyone can do it. No matter your abilities, anyone can volunteer. You know, just because you have a walker doesn't mean that there is not an opportunity to volunteer available to you. Just because you're in a wheelchair doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity to volunteer for you. And if there's any other kind of disability or even just lack of experience, there are opportunities for you to volunteer. So, what can you gain from the experience of volunteering? What can you gain from that experience? And it could be any kind of experience, whether it is the experience of being the volunteer or the experience of a volunteer helping you. What do you think you can gain from those experiences? How about an appreciation for what you already have? I know from my firsthand experience of a volunteer helping my family and I was appreciative of the fact that we had a roof over our head, we had electricity and heat, and we were so very appreciative to have a community that loved and wanted to support us. How about gratitude from those you help? I've been thanked numerous times by people that I've helped when I was at the food pantry. A lot of different positive experiences in the neighbor to neighbor program, you know, and my experience with that and helping those people is rewarding when you can help people, and then there's times when people didn't quite meet the eligibility requirements, and I felt helpless at that point in trying to help them, but I would help try to point them in different directions. I had a whole list of other organizations or places they could go to try to get the assistance they needed if they didn't qualify for the program I was trying to sign them up for. And even when I had to tell bad news to them, when I had this other information for them, they were very appreciative. So I'll be amazed the type of reaction you can get from an individual or a family or a group by just doing something nice for them. How about a sense of purpose within your community? I know that I have spoken to some of the guys who have gone out and helped with the Meals on Wheels. Um, they come back smiling. They feel like they've really served a purpose in helping deliver meals to people in need. We got a group that goes to Faith Mission and helps with their soup kitchen, and they come back and they are just very thankful for the things that they have, but they also feel like they've really contributed and given back to the community. That's a feeling that nobody can take away from you. And there's so many different volunteer opportunities in your own community that you can do. So we got to find those. How about new friends? Either from those that you have helped or those you're volunteering with. My time at my church's food pantry helped me build relationships not only with the community, but with other people at my church that I probably never would have talked to. And that's amazing to think about. You're like, well, aren't these places supposed to be, big families and everybody looks out for everybody? But they can be just as cliquey as any other type of place in the community. And a lot of communities, one street over may not care about what your street's doing, but you're all in the same community. What can you do to help? You volunteer to mow somebody's grass or shovel snow off their sidewalks if they got, there was a time in our old neighborhood where my neighbor Bob, you've heard me talk about him before. He's got a snowblower, and he knew that I was sick and I couldn't get out to shovel snow, and he would come over and he would use a snowblower and clean off our sidewalks and driveway. Very thankful of that. I've gone and I've mowed people's grass for, I'm not doing it for money. I'm just helping them out. So these are all great ways and things that you can gain from the experience of volunteering. So I want you guys to think about ways that you would like to volunteer, and you need to let me know. Put it in the comment section here. Send me an email. Call it in, do something, and let us know what kind of volunteer opportunities you would like, and let's start planning those. So when you come back to the workshop, we can make it happen. And you don't have to worry about the community around our workshop. I want to know about your community. What does your community need in which a volunteer opportunity would be beneficial? Let's make it happen. All right, Columbus. That's all I got for you today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.